it almost seems like Donovan's just taking this opportunity to get Rudy out. Like, he didn't fuck with him anyway. And you know what I mean? Because it's like, but I get it. I get where he could be a little bit salty about it. But at the same time, I feel like, I don't know, maybe he just wanted him out. Or, question is better yet, maybe he's trying to get himself out early. But what, the first thing I go to, I'm on Twitter, and most of my followers are attached to the Warriors and Warriors Twitter. And I hear, all right, well, Wiggins for Gobert, right? And I'm like, but isn't the trade Draymond for Gobert? You know what I mean? All of a sudden, you put Rudy with the Warriors and he becomes like private school JaVale McGee, right? He's like smarter, more disciplined, a little more liable to get punked, But I just, I'm not saying I'm like jumping for joy or I would make that trade, but I don't know if it would be Wiggins. I think it would be Draymond, right? And, so I started to toy with some trades and possible who would want Gobert. Now, Gobert, the thing is, he only has one more year next season, and then his contract's up. So it's not a huge commitment to go get Rudy Gobert. And the two teams that I came up with were, one, Boston, because you talk about, okay, I know they've been making do with Daniel Tice, and he's all right, but they do kind of lack some size. If you look against Milwaukee or Philadelphia, even Miami, I think kind of could bully them just with their physicality maybe. And so the deal would be Marcus Smart, Daniel Tice, Romeo Langford, and Greg Williams. Langford and Williams are two rookies. And I think it would possibly help them with size against the Sixers and Bucks. You're giving up Marcus Smart. A lot of people feel like he's the heart of the team, but and then Utah is obviously gaining Marcus Smart and Gobert. I know that their defense is based around him, but at a certain point, do you feel like Utah is, at a certain point, they're going to have to change styles if they're going to just build around Donovan Mitchell?
I'm not as big a Donovan Mitchell fan as everybody else. I think that in actuality, I might keep Gobert just because I think he's rare. Like a dominant big who can play D and can stay on the floor. I feel like Donovan Mitchell's you can kind of find, You
stole my take, man. You stole my take. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that because to me, Mitchell, see, the context matters, right? Remember, he was like, what was he, like a mid-draft pick? Meaning, like, was he like 15th or something? And so that's why it was like, oh my God, Donovan Mitchell's really good, right? It was a great pick. But like, ultimately, he needs the ball a lot, and he's 6'1". And like, I kind of wonder if they're kind of ruining him because they're molding him into such a high volume guy, a high usage guy. I don't know about his value because if you look around the league, what good team does he go to? And you're like, all right, here, you have the ball, you're the guy. There's not a lot of them. Like, cause he's such a high volume guy. And I was looking, I think I saw someone propose a Denver trade, and it's not likely they trade within the division like that. I'll put it to you like this. And like, I'm not a huge Jamal Murray fan. But did you, real quick though, did you see, okay, so Jamal, did you hear about his Instagram indiscretions?
Yeah. What did he do?
He accidentally went on Instagram Live getting topped off by his broad.
Oh yeah, accidentally.
Yeah. And then a few days later, CJ McCollum is on some live stream with Dame, and people are telling him that his beard looks like Jamal's pubes. They was roasting him. I was like, damn, the internet is truly undefeated because it was hilarious. But I'll put it to you like this: if you swapped those two and gave Murray that volume and opportunity, I'm not saying he'd be more efficient, but I think he might be more prolific than Donovan. Like, if you just gave him 25 shots and was like, here, do whatever you want offensively, like hoist, Murray would probably have bigger games.
I mean, in my opinion, I'd rather have Murray. I just think he's overall he's longer. I think he's a little better shooter. I think he's just a better player to me. I think Donovan's a lot of volume, like you said.
And his shot's gotten better. The one thing I like is like I think he's shown the character to get better, the work ethic, and like he seems smart enough to maybe adapt. But I just don't think moving forward, like in an ideal situation, he's like your second, ideally probably your third guy, Like, and then you just look at his size and how he plays. I don't know what they're doing with that. And I think that most people, the consensus is that Utah would move off Gobert, because it's like he gets played off the floor in the playoffs at times, and the big man is dying. But I agree with you that his impact, man, like I clown him just because of some of the soft shit he does, but his impact on the floor is crazy. Like his anti-gravity, if you will, of just guys not even wanting to go in the paint.
And they have been like, top 5 or top 10 in defense, like ever since he started starting. And that's with some of at times they had some really bad off the ball defenders, and he was just cleaning all of that up.
I think his value, given in the right circumstances, I think he may have more value, and that's kind of like the hot take out of this, right? The other team that I thought might be interested would be the Nets, and it would be some sort of deal of like Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, and maybe Garrett Temple. And then I'm looking and I'm like, well, they have DeAndre, right? Like, why do you do that? But I mean, that would be a nice kind of haul for Utah, right? Because you get Jared Allen who plugs in, and then you get LeVert. And you're like, well, why would the Nets do that? Well, because the Nets are weird, and Kyrie and KD are weird, and they said they want a third guy, right? A third star. And then it got me to thinking, man, like, you know what show that's been reincarnated on TV? I don't know if you've caught it. They've brought back Blind Date.
For real?
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's super well done, and it's down in Atlanta, so you got a lot of weirdos and freaks. But anyway, so I've been watching these, and it's good format. They end the date in a jacuzzi, so it's like either super awkward or you're seeing a bunch of skin. Yeah. And every now and then you'll see a chick that goes on, right? And you're like, damn, like this chick she's smart, she's really hot. Like, why is she on Blind Date, right? You know what I mean? Like, what's the deal here? Why are you single and on Blind Date? And that's kind of like what KD is right now, because KD's like a super hot chick, but then ultimately you look and he has 2 badass kids that you can't get rid of.
Yeah.
And DeAndre and Kyrie, like, because another thing that had me thinking about this was, I think it was Russillo on his podcast. He was talking about the top 5 general manager destinations in the league. And obviously you got the Warriors, the 2 LA teams. I forget one of them, but one of them was the Nets. And what he said was, he was like, well, you got Durant, you got Brooklyn's really cool. He was like, and you just trade Kyrie. He was like, you just trade Kyrie for something. And I'm like, that's not that easy. Like, I don't think you can do that, because we all know how KD is. You can't just trade Kyrie right now. And I don't think you could just trade DeAndre.
No, you'd never be able to trade DeAndre. That for sure is not going anywhere. The Kyrie thing, yeah, I guess the biggest thing would be how KD would take it. Not necessarily getting some value for him, but how KD would take it. And he's going to be salty.
But here's the crucial thing is, you're going to have to play out a season or a season and a half before KD would realize, like, okay, like maybe this ain't going to work and we got to trade him. And by then his value is going to be even lower. Like let's be real. Kyrie's not going to restore his career. He's not going to get better. I just don't see it happening. I'm on the record. One of my hot takes was I think Kyrie retires by the time he's 30. I've said that before. But anyway, so those were my 2 trades for Gobert. But I think the spicy trade that I came up with, tell me what you think of this. Donovan Mitchell sign and trade for Ben Simmons.
Whew. I'm trying to think.
Now, look, I know Ben Simmons wouldn't be thrilled with this, but the reality of it is Salt Lake is a much closer flight to LA than Philadelphia. You know what I mean? Like if he's in Jenner world or, Kardashian world. And what you do is, remember, Gobert only has 1 more year, the 21 season, right? And the Utah, they've got Ben Simmons locked in, and you build a Buck style offense around him. You've already got Bogdanovich, you've got Ingles, you've kind of got it in place. Conley,
I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? And then you flip over to Philadelphia, and now Mitchell becomes the pick and roll guy with Embiid, and he's obviously he can space the floor much better than Ben. It kind of breaks up that problem.
Yeah, I mean, everybody kind of gets better. I'm just wondering if When's Donovan up though? Because like Philly's already got like 10-30 million dollar players.
Right. No, so he's up. He was supposed to sign an extension now before the end of the season, and so that's why I think he might be making this leverage play to act. It's like, yeah, I don't fuck with Gobert. Here is the ultimately, because people are going to say, well, why in the world does Utah trade Donovan instead of Gobert? Even though we discussed the values, the reality of it is maybe they already know Donovan's not going to re-sign with them. I know they're trying to re-sign him, but like no one wants to stay in Utah. And then you have to think his tenure, his little bit of career, they've already had. Remember that Westbrook incident where he had to like kind of like speak up and be like,
oh yeah, that's right.
You know, and he's a New York kid, man. He's a New York kid. And so it just, maybe Utah knows like, yo, there's no way we're going to be able to resign him. So we move him. Ben's locked in and we build around him. And it's kind of a win-win.
That would be an ideal thing for them. But I just don't think they're going to get equal value like that for who's the GM, Elton?
Yeah.
He does like stars.
Yeah. And then Philly has the size to feature Donovan. Because, like, right, I know he's athletic, man, but the reality is he's like 6'1", dude. And I know he has bounce, but he's small. But now you can put all these big wings around him and Embiid. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. You got Embiid, you got Horford, Josh Richardson, Tobias. They're pretty long.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It would be an interesting thing. So then, I don't know how real, I don't know how much any of this is realistic. And I have one crazy thought. I'm going to bring it back to the Warriors because I always do. Let's say that Utah is all right. We've got to keep Donovan. He's gonna continue to get better. He's gonna be a superstar. We've got to keep him homegrown. They call the Warriors and they're like, hey, what will it take to get Eric Paschall? Now you say, okay, well, Eric Paschall and Donovan Mitchell have been best friends since they were like 8 years old.
Yeah, I've heard this.
Right. And so, and Paschall is I think he's a nice player, right? I'm not saying he's a star, but it would definitely go a long way in keeping Donovan there, you would imagine, right? Yeah. And so the Warriors now have this $17 million trade exception. You know who makes $17 million? Bogdan Bogdanović.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. And so there is some gray area with this trade exception. I've been told you can't really attach a player to it, but then I've also heard that you can, but what it does is the team that takes on the trade that takes the player back, they can't do something with the trade exception for a calendar year. So it would limit Utah if we attached Eric Paschall to the trade exception or something like that. It would put a limit or a hard cap on Utah, but they may be set anyway. My other thought would be though, they could trade
two different trades.
Yeah. Trade Paschall for a bot because he's on a second round contract, and you just trade him for another small deal, and then you trade the exception for Bogdanović straight up, understanding that it's hand in hand.
Yeah, I think that you could definitely work that out. You just trade Paschall for like their worst second round pick. And then you just trade Bogdan for the exception, and it all kind of works out.
Right. And Utah fans would probably push back and say Bogdanović is better than Paschall and we're not moving him. But the reality is, like I said, we kind of acknowledged they're stuck in that good but not good enough area. And Bogdanović, I know he's nice. He's nice, but
he's an ancillary piece. Plus Paschall, just the main thing is he keeps Donovan in Utah, which is kind of like the biggest part of it.
Right. And Paschall's, I think he can be a legit starter on a good team because the thing that surprised me most, or I think that's most intriguing with him, everybody looks at the ISO skills. We've called him ISO P in my breakdowns. Big body P. Shout out my guy Kyle came up with that one. But is his ability to move laterally for a dude that's like 250. Like he can switch out on the perimeter and guard guys better than Bogdanović can for sure. And so he's a better defender than I think people realize. And then, he's offensively, he's more of an ISO guy at this point. We'll see how the catch and shoot, if he's going to be able to alter that shot from three and turn it to more of a set shot. But let's move on to this Warriors trade exception.